book lovers, we're gonna do the mid-year book tag today, which is crazy that we're already halfway through the year, but this tag is basically a little summary of like the good, the bad, and the books that I read so far in 2024. I'm gonna credit this to Sarah. I don't know if she came up with this tag, but it was the first that I saw, so I'm gonna leave her video from last year below. Got all the original questions from her video and then also a few that I added myself. I tried really hard to have a different book for each question, but that was just not possible for every single one. I also tried to always just choose one, which you will also see. Wasn't always possible, but I tried my best here, okay? It's hard to choose between my favorites. So let's jump into the first question, which is the best book I read this year so far. And hands down, I just want to mention it here. I will use it for a different question, but the best book I read this year is this one. You saw it quickly. I'll talk about it in a minute because I didn't choose it for this question and you will see why, but I felt disloyal to the book if I wouldn't say it, so I just wanted to mention it. But the one that I actually chose for this question is Heartless by Elsie Silver. And this is so surprising because this really caught me off guard because it had a lot of tropes that I usually didn't really seek out. Like you have age gap, you have nanny romance, and like a small town with cowboy vibes. And it's the second in the Chestnut Spring series, but you can read them on its own if you want to. They're interconnected standalones. I would read the whole series because I think it's really good, at least the two that I read so far. But Heartless is definitely my favorite. They were just perfect for each other and the book had so much tension and it was quite long, but I was never bored once, and I actually really liked Kate's little kid Luke and the relationship he had with his dad, but also Willa. Willa was just my favorite female character. She was so amazing. She was just pure fire and I absolutely loved her. So I feel like it's deserving to give this book this spot, although I didn't quite expect that at all. The next question is about the best sequel I read in 2024, and I feel like these are probably the true best books I read in 2024, but because they're sequels, and I know that Heartless is technically also the second one in the series, but I didn't want to consider it as like a sequel because you don't have to read the first one. In this question I wanted to give a shout out to like sequels where they're actually amazing, how they keep the story going and where they went, and you already saw which one I'm going to talk about first. That is this one. I read this recently, so it's really fresh, but I've been thinking about this book in this series since I read ACOTAR, the first one, last year in I think November, and I wanted to read this so much, but at the same time I wanted to savor it and just wait for like the perfect time because I already knew that I will love this book, and this didn't go exactly where I thought it would go, but it was everything I needed. I love this with all my heart. I also filmed myself reading this, so I don't want to say too much, but obviously you already know that I'm absolutely obsessed with this. Why I chose this book for this question, not the first one, is that the first book is already amazing, but the second one just gave us so much more of the world, of the characters, and every new character that was also introduced I fell in love with. And I feel like if you weren't obsessed with ACOTAR from the first book, you would definitely be after reading this one. And so this one technically deserves my best book of 2024 award, but I wanted to put it as best sequel, which is also true. Then another non-fantasy best sequel that I just had to mention, and again it would probably be more deserving of best book of the year, but it is a proper sequel, so I wanted to choose it for this question for the same reason as A Court of Mist and Fury, and that is, of course, Magnolia Park's The Long Way Home by Jessa Hastings. I could have also chosen Daisy Hates The Great Undoing, but I think I preferred this just a tiny bit more, especially when you talk about sequels, because they're both following the same timelines. So you don't really learn that much more in Daisy Hates since it follows the same timeline, just different POVs, but they would both fit in this category. I read the first Magnolia Parks book last year and this was just everything. Like this gave me frustration, love, anger, just all the feelings, truly. I also tapped a lot of this book, and if you're wondering why I only tapped half of the book, is because the first half I tapped for the original book with the original cover, but that book got stolen, so I had to get this one and read the second half. But I will definitely read this at some point and then tap the whole book. But yeah, this is just incredible, and again, this is a proper sequel, so you have to read the first one in order to read this one. And the story was so good. Like, Jessa Hastings' writing is just out of this world. Like, I definitely think that her writing and how she makes those people so real and so flawed is just something that I haven't seen anywhere else done the way she does it. And she just deserves the spot for best book or best sequel. Like this and Akatar are truly one of my absolute favorite series ever. So I don't want to put them against each other. Romance and fantasy, so different genre. You can't really compare them. So I both love them for different reasons, but they're both equally just absolutely amazing. For the next question, we have new releases that I haven't read yet. So to stay with the Magnolia Parks universe, we got the final book for Magnolia Parks. And first of all, just look at this beautiful cover. And because I still had to read the other ones, I haven't read this one yet, but I definitely will this year. I'm just a bit scared that I will be an absolute wreck after I read this, but I'm also definitely excited to get some answers for the things that happened in Daisy Hates the Great Undoing and also the last Magnolia Parks book. But another book that came out this year that I haven't read yet that I thought of is The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren. I definitely want to read that soon as well, especially because it really gives like summer feelings. And I'm gonna be honest, Germany, not so much, but once the sun is more out, I definitely want to read that one as well. And also the new release by Abby Jimenez. I can't remember their name right now, but I have to read Yours Truly first, and I just got it, and I think I'm gonna read that in the next couple of weeks. So it would be good to go to also read her newest release then, because I really, really enjoy Abby Jimenez writing. Talking about the most anticipated releases of the second half of the year, I would have to go, of course, with Reckless by Lauren Roberts. And it's coming out at the beginning of July, so we don't have to wait that much longer, but holy shit, I am so freaking excited for that book. Like once July 2nd comes, you won't hear from me for a day. I'm just gonna read it. So that is definitely the most anticipated read for the second half that I could think of. But I'm also excited for Lauren Escher's new release next week, Love Unwritten, and then also the one by Ashley Polston, a novel love story, I think. And we also have Hannah Grace's new book for the Maple Hill series in August, which is Daydream. And then there's also Anna Huang's new book, The Striker, which is a completely new series, and we have like a sports romance, so I'm also excited about that. So all in all, we have a lot more new releases for the second half of 2024 that we can look forward to. Next up, we have Biggest Surprise, and I have to give this one definitely to Sarah Adams, and in particular these two books. When in Rome was the first one, and I liked this a lot, but the one that I actually loved was Practice Makes Perfect. And that I would ever say that about a Sarah Adams book, I did not expect at all. I actually read When in Rome for a video where I gave authors a second chance, and I read two books by Sarah Adams at that point, and I hated both of them. So my expectations were like underground, like nowhere to be seen. But I hear a lot of good things about these books, so I wanted to give it a try, and I'm so glad I listened, because these were just really, really cute and adorable. They're also quite short, and you have like the small town vibe, and then maybe not the most profound romances ever, but I really fell in love with these characters and the small town. And we're gonna get the third one, I don't know if it's gonna be this year or next year, but the cover was just revealed, and especially Practice Makes Perfect just hit differently. Like this made me even teary. And there's also talent in having like a slow burn feel and emotional romance in a book that isn't that long. So definitely Sarah Adams' Small Town series was the biggest surprise. But then another one that I just had to mention as well is Check and Mate by Ellie Hazelwood. And it's not that I didn't expect Ellie Hazelwood to really disappoint me, but this was a book that I just didn't even want to pick it up because it's YA, and I'm not a huge fan of YA, but my boyfriend actually got this for me because he really likes chess, and when he saw this he was like, oh my god, let's combine our interests. So he gifted this to me, and I am so glad that he did, because holy hell, Ellie Hazelwood can basically write anything, I feel like. This was incredible, and the romance was so amazing, and I also loved the topic about chess, even though I personally don't really care about chess, but I did after this book. I don't know if it was because of the setting, like the characters felt younger but not immature or naive, and I know that that's realistic for YA, but that's usually nothing I really enjoy, and I really appreciated that this book just handled it a bit differently. And yeah, overall I was very surprised to have loved it that much. Like this was almost a 5-star. Let's talk about a new favorite author that I discovered in 2024, and I have to give that to Miss Lauren Roberts. I love these books so much, and this was her debut novel, which is just absolutely crazy and insane to think about how great her writing is. And this is the novella that came out this year in this universe. And as I said, Reckless will be the next one to come out very soon that I can't wait to read. And you see that I tapped both these books, and I couldn't just not do that. The writing was so incredible in here, and that's why I'm also saying this is a new favorite author, because it wasn't just like the book or the story. It is generally her writing that I really, really enjoy. I think the dialogues these characters have are so beautiful, and these are fantasy, so you have to think about a new world, and that is just, to me, absolutely extraordinary how authors do that. But also the romances in these two books just make me so happy. Just how these characters describe their feelings and feel so deeply and are so emotional about it, and I absolutely love them, and I think I will read anything that Lauren Roberts comes out with. So once she's done with this universe, I can't wait to see where she's gonna go next. Definitely a favorite author that I discovered this year. The next question is about my newest fictional crush, and I had to go with a repeat here because I think it's definitely still Kate from Heartless. Like, since then, I just want a cowboy daddy, alright? The way he was just the perfect grumpy guy, he was just everything to me. As much as I loved Willa and she was his perfect match, I also think that Daddy Kate was really amazing. And I don't know if since then something like changed in my brain, because I'm also currently reading Caught Up by Liz Tomford, and this is also a nanny romance, and I'm also kind of crushing on Daddy Kai. So I don't know if it like the single dad trope finally got to me, but I'm definitely not hating the vibe here. Then a book that made me cry, which wasn't just one, so I could choose several, but I decided to just go with Funny Story by Emily Henry, and this is my favorite Emily Henry book. I absolutely love this. It was a new release for this year, and this also really caught me by surprise, because when I first started this book, I didn't really feel connected with both characters. I didn't really see myself in this situation, but just something about their romance and their love and what they went through also separately about, being in your 30s was just so relatable, even if you don't find yourself in this exact position. And I absolutely loved Miles and Daphne's story. And even after finishing this, I was like, I want more. Like, I would love to have a book just to see their happy end. Like, very mundane, boring stuff where they, build a house together and get married or do whatever they decide to do with their lives. But I want that because I couldn't get enough of this couple. I absolutely adore this couple and love this book, even though it made me cry. And to switch it around, let's talk about a book that made me happy. And honestly, most books make me happy because I love reading. Like, reading in general makes me happy. And I could also choose a lot of books that I mentioned here already that made me happy. But because I didn't want to do too many repeats, another book that made me really happy that I read at the beginning of the year was The Fake Out by Stephanie Archer. And this was just so adorable. We have a reverse Grumpy Sunshine hockey romance and also fake dating. And this was just really adorable. Made me laugh, just giggling. I just really, really enjoyed their romance. But another book that made me very happy that I wanted to mention is Wildfire by Hannah Grace. And this made me particularly happy because it had a lot of good ingredients that I love. I mean, you had like an emotional guy, you had golden retriever puppies, you had F1 mentioned in here, you had amazing found family, and a good found family always makes me the happiest. So I absolutely had to mention this book. This was incredible. I love their journey together, how they healed on the way and how they made each other better. This was such a positive relationship. So truly the best feeling to describe what this book made me feel is happy. Then for the most beautiful book that I bought this year so far, I will have to mention first of all special editions. And special editions are there to be beautiful and collected. So obviously the ones I got have like the best covers. And the first ones I have here are special editions from Eternal Embers, and that is the one from For Part of Your World and Yours Truly, both by Abby Jimenez. And these are just absolutely gorgeous. I love the style, but I also just love the color combination. So I definitely had to mention these. They are just really, really adorable. And I mean, I told you that I haven't read this one yet, but also just seeing these pictures and also knowing that they correlate to the story inside, I always love when there are like little hints about the story and you kind of really only understand them when you read them. So I had to mention these ones. Probably the top spot though would have to go to my Divine Rivals special edition by Fairy Loot. This is absolutely gorgeous, and I mean, like, truly the whole book, just everything in here is so beautiful. You have the sprayed edges. Also, when you take off the book sleeve, you have a gorgeous book underneath. So yeah, this is definitely pure joy that I own this, and I also got this gifted from my boyfriend, so I made it extra special. I wanted this for so long, even before I read the book, because I thought that the cover was so beautiful, and I'm very glad that when I read it I also fell in love with the inside, the story, the writing. And I don't really know if special editions count for this question, so I wanted to mention a non-special edition book as well, and the first one here is Chlorine by Jade Song, and this is absolutely gorgeous, and it also might be one of the bigger reasons why I got this book, because this is like a horror story, and I don't really read horror ever, but when you see this cover you wouldn't think that this is a horror story. I also might be wrong because I haven't read this yet, but I'm pretty sure this is a horror novel. And I promise the last one for this question, I just also needed to mention Lauren Asher's Love Redesigned cover, because what I really love when authors do that, she has like little Easter eggs with the names of the colors from this color palette here that correlate to her other characters or her other novels, and I love stuff like that. I mean, I'm a fan of Lauren Asher and her whole universe anyway, but especially when I saw this made me very happy, and I think it's very unique for a cover, and it's purple, so overall just super pretty, and it also makes sense once you read the story. I just always love that about Lauren Asher's covers. The next question asks about what books I need to read by the end of 2024, and truly, like, my whole TBR for 2024, every book that I haven't read yet would be fitting for this question, and there's still quite a few that I haven't read yet, but the ones that I definitely wanted to mention is I Am Pilgrim by Terry Hayes, and also Sally Rooney's Normal People. I had these forever. I just need to read them this year. So these were all Sarah's original questions, and now I have a few of my own. Well, the first one is actually one from Katie, because I saw her mid-year book tag and I really liked her question, so I'm gonna leave her video down below. But that is what series I want to finish by the end of 2024, and I feel like I've been really on like a series journey the last few weeks, because I'm just really trying to cut down the series that I'm in the middle of. There are just so many. But the two series where I definitely have the goal to finish this year are first the Calloway Sisters series by Krista and Becca Ritchie. I don't really have an excuse why I haven't finished this series yet. I just don't want to say goodbye to these characters, but I've been putting it off for so long. I just want to have these books on my shelf and say I read them all. And I love these books, so I just need to get back to one of my favorite universes. And then the other goal is to finish the Shatter Me series, and I'm actually quite close, because I am up to the last book now, which is Imagine Me, so I only have to read this book, and I think then there's one more novella, but I want to read the novella as well. I just don't really count them in like the main series. So we just have one more book, and I 100% know that I'm gonna finish this, and it feels so good to say. Then I also wanted to talk about my least favorite book of 2024 so far, because I mean, I read a lot of great books, but I also read a few that weren't great at all. And one of them is also a more recent one, which is Guilt by Geneva Lee. And the thing is, the story had something that kept me on reading. And I also feel like that I can understand that there are people out there who would enjoy this book, but to me, really, the writing was just so bad. I just had to give this book the award for the least favorite book. This book felt just like really bad Wattpad writing, and I think this book just needed an editor who cut out all the bullshit that we didn't need, and that was also making me feel very uncomfortable reading about people that were underage. But then I feel like you could actually do something out of this book and out of the story, but just like that, no. It was really bad. My next question, I think I just wanted another excuse to talk about A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. And since it's on the bottom here, I can't take it out now, but imagine me holding this up right now. And the question, I don't think I already said, is actually my new favorite characters. I already told you guys. One of my absolute favorite tropes is found family. And wow, we had found family in A Court of Mist and Fury, and I'm just gonna say that The Inner Circle, all of them new favorite characters. Farah and Rhysand, not new favorite characters because I already loved and obsessed with them last year. With that, we come to our last question for this tag, and that is my favorite new release from 2024. So I read a lot of new releases this year, and my two favorites were definitely books that are already on this tag, and that is, first of all, Funny Story by Emily Henry, but then also the novella by Lauren Roberts, Powerful. Both of them absolutely incredible. I cried for both of them, made me feel so much, and Funny Story is definitely one of my favorite books this year. With that, we recapped 2024 so far, and I'm very excited for the second half, it's just crazy that we're already there, right? But I hope you enjoyed this video. Give this video a like and also subscribe for more bookish content, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye!